Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I interview top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And this podcast is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Philip Smith. Hi, Phil.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm very excited to have you because we're going to talk about systems as they pertain to lead generation, it's fascinating. You know, we talked a little bit about before the podcast, and I'm just fascinated about how you are able to take such, how should we say it, like a not really well understood subject, right? And create a system and help business owners actually get workable marketing systems. And that is for me, I'm really interested to hear how you do that. But before that, I have several other questions that I'm intrigued about. I'm going to introduce you properly, okay? So, Phil, you're a serial entrepreneur. You sold 4 companies, right? You made it for the 5th time to the fastest growing companies on the Inc. 5000 list. And, we can see behind you, you partner with Kevin Harrington, the original shark from Shark Tank, right? Mm-hmm. And, but you're only one employee company. So how is this? How did it happen? I mean, tell us the story, a little bit more about your story, about your entrepreneurship story, the beginning. How did you get started, and how do you manage to do so much being a one employee company?
Yeah, it's funny. I'll tell you how it all started. So 1998, I started my first business, but it wasn't because it was something that I was looking for. It was something that just fell on my plate where someone just came to me and said, "Hey, you want to start your own business?" I've been around entrepreneurs my entire life before that, family members, etc. So I was actually renting Nintendo games in the 5th grade. So being an entrepreneur was in my blood, I guess you can say. But at the time, I decided to jump on the idea of start my own business. I was selling dial-up services in 1998. I mean, it's crazy to even think about it. But I was selling dial-up services, and then we built a web hosting company out of that. That company ended up having 200 employees. It ended up getting bought out in 2005. And then after that, I said to myself, I never want to go to an office again, and I never want another employee. So in 2006, I started working from home, and I started just working with companies, consulting for them. That was my first business out of that. So that's how it all started. When you fast forward to today, going back to 2014 is when I learned about lead generation. And I love the idea of the business because it's all software. It's all automated and it's scalable. And that's what I love about that business, about the lead generation business. Now, going into the whole systems and processes, it's very difficult, especially when you first start, to understand it all. Because to move data all around from all different pieces of software and platforms and get it to where it needs to go, it's a pain in the butt. It's a lot easier today with companies like Zapier, for example. But what we started building from scratch is our own platforms and just starting to understand how to do it. But the whole one employee company, the whole scalable business, you can't do that in any business, right? You can't start a restaurant and do it. You can't be a construction company, a dentist office, The lead generation business is one of the few companies that you can generate multiple 8 figures and stay small, because it only—
Are you really one employee, or do you have subcontractors that you work with?
I definitely hire people to do certain jobs, of course, but I always stayed away from building an internal team. I never wanted that. So I 100% do it. But I will tell you, for the first 4 years, from 14 to 18, I didn't have any help. And I got to 2.4 million in revenue in 2017. So I got to that point before I ever even hired a consultant. And the first person I hired was just someone to go rebuild all my websites because they look like crap because I built them. So I started just figuring out the better platforms to use, and I got that off my plate. So it's still.
So you don't even have an executive assistant.
Oh no, I don't have an assistant. I don't believe in those.
Okay.
I just do everything myself. It's funny. I got acquired in 2010. My consulting business got acquired in 2010 from a guy named Jim Estel. Jim Estel was one of the first investors in BlackBerry, made $500 million off that one investment alone. He had an investment. He had an angel fund with 17 companies in it when I met him. And Jim was on 17 boards, travel like crazy, and he never had an assistant. Didn't have anybody, did everything himself. So I learned a lot from Jim in the 2 years. When he did acquire me, it was an investment fund. These guys had a ton of money. So I wanted to hang out with them, right? You got to hang out with the people with money. So for 2 years, I did go to that office because it made sense for me to do that. And then I left beginning of 2013. But at that time there, it was great. I learned a lot. And I also learned even more to how I am, just do it yourself is probably going to get done better anyway. So still to this day, do it all myself.
So contradictory to so many of those people that I interview here said, okay, in order to grow, you have, and I believe it in it too. I mean, I have assistants and whatnot, but hat off to you that you actually managed to do it by yourself. So that's interesting, Phil. Okay, so let's talk about lead generation. Let's talk about the systems, or let's talk about the principles. First of all, what are the main principles or the main strategy that you employ in lead generation?
So I'll just explain how I built it. In a lead generation business, for me, it's all about driving traffic, generating a lead, and selling that lead. It's a very simplified business from that perspective, but how to make it all work is a different story. So, when I ran my first Facebook ad in October of 2014, driving traffic to a WordPress website. From that WordPress website, it went to a company called Lead Conduit, or Active Prospect is their actual corporate name. And I drove everything to their software. So lead distribution software. From there, it would also go to Aweber for email marketing. I wasn't doing SMS marketing at the time. And then what happened was I would email out the leads myself, but I'd also distribute the leads to my lead buyers. And they would also have a CRM on their site, usually Salesforce. More times than not, it was Salesforce. So we would API that information over to Salesforce. And that's how I started a business. That's how it first started. That's the software I used, and just to automate everything as much as possible. Before that, I was just sending out emails when I generated leads to my buyers. But obviously, I had to get away from email to really scale this thing. And then that grew to over 1,000 leads a day. And then as time went on, I started learning how to monetize my leads more. How could I promote more products and services to the leads? How could I sell more leads to different buyers? And that's when it really starts to get more technical, obviously, when you start piecing all this stuff together and learning how APIs work and how to distribute all this stuff. But that's how it all started for me.
So API, for those listeners that, we don't want to give them some words that they like, how would you explain APIs to our listeners if they don't know what it is?
The best way to explain it, I guess, it's just moving data from, it's almost emailing. It's kind of like, if you just want to, layman's terms, it's like sending an email almost, but you're just taking data from one CRM to another CRM, which a CRM is just a place where you just store and manage all your data or leads or customer base or whatever. So Salesforce, for example, would be one of the largest CRMs out there, that enterprise level. A Zoho, a HubSpot, all these companies, all CRMs one way or another. So it's just moving the data from one of those CRMs to another. It's API. I always forget what API stands for, actually. I don't know if you know.
I need to look it up. No, I don't remember, but yeah.
We can look it up real quick. But yeah, I always forget what it stands for. But it's basically just the act of moving the data from one CRM to another CRM.
Automatically.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about what type of companies do you work with?
So I'm mainly in the financial space, so business loans and mortgages. So anything to do with really lending. That's typically what we do today for our company called Loan Broker Network, is where we have over 10,000 loan brokers that have come to us looking to get access to our infrastructure because they don't want to build out the entire system themselves. So for example, right, the average person that wants to start a business, they don't know how to do anything, right? Most people just have no clue. So when COVID hit, we realized that, and we said, you know what, let's make it as easy as possible for people to utilize all the infrastructure that we have. So we built out everything for them, from their landing page, their SMS marketing, email marketing, setting up all that API stuff where the data gets moved around. And then we have partners that take their leads, and business loan partners and mortgage partners. So that's something that we built out for everybody because we just know that it's not easy for the average person to go figure it all out.
Okay, so let's take an example of a business that you help. Let's say a mortgage company.
Mm-hmm.
So the mortgage company contacts you because they want more leads, right?
Correct.
So what you do is you basically generate leads for them so they can get the leads, get more business, right? So, I'm really interested in building some kind of, I want to explain to our listeners like the process of lead generation, right? I mean, I understand about all the technicalities and the automaticity and all that, but what will be some of the principles or the main points that have to exist that a business need to pay attention to in order to do correct lead generation?
The biggest thing is making sure you're doing everything legally, right? That's the number one thing. So when you do generate a lead, you got to make sure all the wording's correct, you're TCPA compliant. So that means that you're allowed to call them, you're allowed to text them. If you are selling leads, you have to give your partner list to say one of these companies may call you. So legally, number one, you got to do that because you don't want to get hit with lawsuits. I've never been sued. None of my buyers have ever been sued because we've always done everything correctly. But I know people.
You mean like the checkbox is like, yeah, I mean, you have all the legal,
Exactly.
you have, yes, I agree that you're going to send me information and all of that, right? So you have to make sure that everything is there. I agree with you. That would be the first thing.
Yes.
What other things business owners or entrepreneurs need to look for when they're actually looking at lead generation?
So there's two ways to look at it. If you're generating leads for yourself, right, that's one strategy. If you're more like what we do is we generate leads for other companies, it's a totally different strategy, right? Because when I'm generating leads for someone else, I'm just giving them what they want. What's your filters? So for example, if I generate a business loan lead, over the years, my big buyers, they want a lead that does over $10,000 a month in revenue. That's one of the biggest filters that they want. They don't even care about credit score. They don't really care about time in business. They really just care about their revenue. So if the business does over $10,000 a month in revenue, I will buy that lead from you, right? So that's all I'm trying to do is just make it as simple as possible for me to generate the lead to give it to them. If I'm taking in a lead for myself, like we do also for other services, I want to filter that lead as much as possible before I get on the phone with them. So there's a lot of people out there that take in leads and they say, hey, schedule a call with us. And they have 25 salespeople. They're doing all this stuff and they're taking all these calls and, way less than 1% will sign up because you're taking an unfiltered lead in. I never liked that. In order for someone to purchase services from us in Loan Broker Network, as an example, they have to watch a 57-minute video before we even talk to them. It's a game changer for conversion rate. So I know someone that, I've hit, over $500,000 in 1 month in that business in revenue. I know someone that was doing a little bit more than me. There was like 700,000 a month, but he had 25 salespeople at 4, right? That was the difference. So I generate a ton of leads, but they just get filtered out. And
what you're saying is in the pipeline, basically, when you qualify the lead, you should put screens and qualifications that you really will talk to the person that you want to talk to. And you do it by having them watch a 57-minute video, sales video. So obviously, if somebody went through this process, I mean, it does without those that do not do that, right? Do you ever have that fear of missing out on some of those leads, or maybe that can be an opportunity, and if I talk to them, then maybe it will be, I actually had that conversation just a few days ago internally with one of my salespeople in terms of, well, I mean, the person, we have qualifiers as well. We go, well, maybe we should talk to them, maybe that, but no, there is no point in spending time if they're not qualified. How do you ever have those thoughts that you might be losing leads that may be qualified but just didn't have the willingness to watch the video?
Yeah, we already know we are. It's 100%. You're always going to lose people because they just don't have the time. Like for me, I don't really have the time to go watch an hour-long video myself. So I probably wouldn't even watch my own video, right? So, but you got to look at it from both ends. So on one end, we're always, we're going to get the people that are truly serious, are going to move forward. And the other end, just because someone doesn't want to watch the video, and even if they say, oh, I'm ready to go, how are you ready to go? You don't even know the price, you don't know anything. So we get those emails all the time. I just want to talk to somebody. I just want to talk to somebody. But here's the thing. If we sat on a phone with somebody and explained it, it's still going to take an hour. So we either have to spend the hour one-on-one with somebody or not, right? So I just didn't care, right? I don't care enough to chase those people. If they're not willing to watch the video, I'm not willing to talk to them. You just have to make that decision. I'm not going to, we started playing around with so our opt-in form, that's our first form that someone comes in before they watch the video, they have to fill out a form. What we started doing was we started asking additional questions. And what we did was we said, do you have experience in this industry? And if they said yes, then we actually ask them qualifying questions to filter them out, like someone that would be interested and actually would move forward. We've never acted on the data. We just collect it right now. We haven't done anything with it. We've probably been running that for maybe 6 months now, but literally I've never done anything with it. We just have it. So one of these days we're going to test that out and figure it out. But the way that I am with my companies, I don't live the corporate lifestyle where you have to hit numbers and you have to grow and whatever. I don't care, generate millions of dollars a year in revenue. I'm a small business. I'm fine. My success today is way different than what I consider success in my 20s. In my 20s is all about materialistic things. Today, it's about controlling my time. And that's all I care about. As long as I pay my bills and I save more money and whatever, and I'm, good, I really don't care about getting every single dollar out of every single lead. You know what I mean? So to me, it doesn't really matter.
Yes, it's also a mindset. You're right. It's like, what type of business do you want, right? So, okay, so definitely lead qualification is very important. Any other things, anything else after so we talked about being legal, make it legal, make sure you're not just not getting sued, but actually like having all your legal rudiments in there. And then you have the qualifying of the leads. So you actually do a lot of work up front by the lead qualifying themselves and just talk to qualifying leads. Anything else?
From there, it's just after you generate that lead, it's your sales process. And then of course, the systems in place to automate that marketing, right? So once a lead does hit your system, see, here's what we do that a lot of people don't do is we have that first lead before they watch the video. Then after they watch the video, they have to fill out another form. Now we know that they're more qualified because they watched the hour-long video, right? And then we ask them more questions. So now we know, okay, here's these leads. Let's hit them with this messaging. Here's the better qualified leads, hit them with that messaging. And then let's see what we do. So from there, our conversion rates we look at, across the board, but now it's the email marketing, it's the SMS marketing, making sure you don't do too much texting because it's so easy to get your SMS number shut off if you text too much, right? So we've also learned that a lot of people look at conversion rates, right? If you ask for a phone number or don't ask for a phone number, our conversion rate was exactly the same. So, and a lot of people say get the phone number. A lot of people say don't get the phone number because you have a higher conversion rate. It didn't matter to us. We tried both. We got the same amount of phone numbers either way, or the same amount of conversion rate either way. A lot of people will give fake information. That is what it is. Another thing with SMS marketing, just to give a little tip, it's better if you have them contact you first. Text the word schedule or text the word call to this phone number to talk to us, stuff like that. If you go out there and just start texting people, even if they are your lead, it's easy to get that number shut off. Don't put a URL in your first text. Let them text you, automate a response, and then start giving them links or phone numbers to call. It'll save your phone numbers, trust me, because we've had, so even though we're texting the people that we're supposed to text and they told us to text them, we still got our numbers shut off so many times. But once we implemented all the stuff and not sending out URLs right away, it changed the game, and we haven't had a number shut off in years now. So just SMS is a pain in the butt. It really is. But as long as you add those things in, you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Good. Yeah. You know, what's your philosophy about follow-up then on those leads?
So I email and text the leads a lot in the first couple of days, because their email and their texts are, I'm sure they're cluttered, they're getting hammered. And I'm sure we're not the only company they contacted, right? So you want to make a big splash right away so don't forget about you. A lot of people don't like that. They're like, no, I don't want to hit them too hard, don't be annoying. But we've tested that out big time, where you just send out one text a day after they come in and they become a lead. They get 3 texts from us in 30 minutes, because I want to make sure that they see us. And I got to tell you, big game changer. Of course, you can even go into email, like make sure your text is like at least a 15 or 16 font, and this, that, the other thing, and subject lines, and there's all these different email strategies. It's crazy with digital marketing. The crazy thing is that every single step of the funnel, there's so much to it, from just driving traffic and running Facebook or Google or YouTube or LinkedIn ads or TikTok or whatever. There's strategies across all the platforms. Then you have the strategies of conversion optimization. Like, for example, you can put a video on your landing page or even on your checkout page. You can put a video there where you start talking to them via video. You press a button, you can start talking to them right there. I mean, that's a game changer. So there's all these little things across the board. Then you get into your email marketing, your SMS marketing, how to do that. Make sure you don't get shut down. Make sure you get into the inbox. So many strategies all the way down the road. Then, of course, your sales. And one thing I learned about selling leads over the years, a lot of companies cannot sell their own product. I've seen it so many times now. It's crazy. I never imagined that would ever be a problem. But I've seen it over and over again over the years now. Companies cannot sell their own product. It's crazy. But the biggest thing I will say, that most companies just make mistakes. They hire the wrong people. And that's usually the biggest problem that any company has to trying to grow. But what are you going to do?
Well, you can fix that by hiring the right people and do different things, right? So
100%.
Good. Phil, I have a question. So I know you like to be on podcasts, you have a message you want to say. What is the main message that you would like to give to audiences? Why do you like to be on as a guest on podcasts, and what is the main message that you would like to communicate?
So I've been helping people make money from home since 1998. When I first started my first business in 1998, doing dial-up, as I said, and that turned into a web hosting company. We started something called Become an ISP, Become an Internet Service Provider. So we were selling that service, tap into our infrastructure. Ever since then, I've been in this business of helping people. Fast forwarding to today, we do that a lot with the Loan Broker Network. Obviously, I partner with Kevin Harrington to boost my brand. I've had multiple people that I've worked with that have achieved 7 figures a year, even 7 figures a month in revenue. And when the first time it ever happened, when someone said to me, Phil, you changed my life, I actually almost started crying, but I held back. That's the coolest thing in the world. And I've had multiple people say that to me now. I just had someone speak at our last mastermind a couple of weeks ago. He said, listen, I just want to be there because I'm hitting 7 figures a year now. And I want to also just help. I want to give back to what you've done for me. I want to give back to other people. So that's the coolest thing. And that's why I like doing what I do. I love helping people not make mistakes. And that's the biggest. I've made them all. We've all made them all, right? Anyone that's had any type of success has made mistakes. So I'm trying to help people not make those mistakes, whether they want to start a business or grow their current business.
Beautiful. And do you work with other industries other than mortgage and loan and finance companies?
I can work with a company in any industry just because of our team with Kevin and everything that he's done. So it doesn't really matter what kind of business. Here's the kicker here, right? We get people in the lending industry mainly because they understand it. I don't really need to explain what a business loan is. I don't have to explain what a mortgage is. But at the end of the day, what we're really showing people how to do is the lead generation. That's really the key. is the lead generation. That's what powers everything for most companies, right? They need leads. So we just do it in the lending industry. Number one, because there's much bigger profits. It's easier for people to make money, but it's also something that we don't have to explain. If I had to explain the lead gen business to everybody, now I have to educate them on an entire business model. And that's harder to do. So I'd rather put them in a business that they get. They don't have to explain it. I teach them lead gen, and then they grow beyond us. We don't want everyone to stay in this industry. We want them to grow beyond us and do lead generation in other industries. So people that have worked with us have gone into Medicare, auto insurance, even local marketing like construction.
So the people that you're talking about, those are the people that you teach them how to do lead generation, not necessarily the industries themselves. So you do that on top of, you do generate leads for businesses, but you also teach others how to do lead generation.
Correct.
And how do you do that? So that's a different company?
So Loan Broker Network is more of an education business, and All-in-One Marketing is more of a consulting business.
Okay. So All-in-One Marketing is where you teach others how to do it. Or the other way around. Yeah,
Loan Broker Network is where I teach people the lead generation business.
Okay.
And All-in-One Marketing is where I help them with their current business.
I see. Okay, good. So if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Easiest way is just go to philipfsmith.com. That's my main website. They just go there and they can contact me through there.
Awesome. Okay, good. Well, Phil, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. It was definitely a very fascinating conversation with different angles and different viewpoints that I don't usually hear. So thank you for being so original and for sharing your knowledge and for showing your willingness to help others.
I appreciate you for having me. It's been great.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.